I'd rather they pause, take a breath, and figure everything out, rather than this kind of like hat-dash approach that we saw when it came to Nuno, bringing in Fonseca, then telling him no, thinking about Gattuso, then, all that kind of airing our dirty laundry in public was an embarrassment that we ended up landing with Nuno just to fire him a couple of months later. I don't think they want to go through that again, and so I would expect a little bit more time out and time taken to do this stuff behind closed doors. Morning, everybody. How you doing? Welcome back to the Spurs Talk Show. I'm Sean Butler. Bugsy's just in front. It's Thursday. It's March the 24th, the 2023 version. And it's windy, so hopefully I can kind of mute some of that in the post-editing. But if not, I apologise if you can hear the crackles. How are you guys? How are you? I hope you're all happy and healthy doing the things that you love with the people that you love doing them with. Please do me a favour, guys. Smash the like button for me. Smash the subscribe button if you haven't already. Hit the notification bell and drop a comment. Guys, it's 5 days. It's been 5 days. Radio silence from Tottenham Hotspur. Not even an acknowledgement of the comments. And for all we know, there are no intended consequences. All we're working off is reports from journalists saying conversations are being had but no decisions have been made, and a picture of Antonio Conte on a Ryanair flight back to Italy, back home, which of course is inconsequential because he hasn't got anything to do for the next week or so because of the international break. So, look, I'm still assuming something's going to happen. But 5 days and nothing, not even an acknowledgement of the comments being said by the club. It seems a little bit weird. You know what's even weirder is that there's absolute silence on everything. We haven't even heard what's going on with Richarlison's injury. No, unless I'm wrong, unless I've missed it, and maybe I have, but all I've seen is the Brazilian national team doc saying that he's not going to be available for Brazil's game against Morocco because he pulled out of a Premier League game against Southampton. Now, we saw him crying as he walked off the pitch. Now, it's a bit of a kind of conflicting situation there, because if you're crying, are you crying because of the pain? Are you crying because of the severity of the injury that you know deep down that is going to spoil the rest of your season? Are you crying just because you're an emotional guy? And he certainly is one. But if it's because of the severity of the injury, he walked off the pitch. So, I mean, we saw Bentancur walk off the pitch, but when you do your ligaments, you can kind of walk. You just can't twist or turn or anything like that. But, he didn't look like he even had a limp. So maybe it's a different body part. Maybe it's a stomach muscle or something else. Maybe it's just not that bad. But we haven't heard anything. And that's surprising, right? You usually get an update within 24 hours about the guy's injury. As I say, unless I'm wrong, but I don't think I am. So what the hell's going on with the communications from Tottenham Hotspur about the situation right now? And maybe, just maybe, the deliberations, again, assuming that there are tough decisions being made, as we spoke about yesterday, that may be relating to Paratici, whether it's better just to cut the cord there as well, and then if so, in what order? Morning, guys. If so, in what order do you make the resolutions? Do you give the new director of football, whoever that is, a say in who the manager would be? Or do you just pick the manager and then deal with the new director of football, even if you want to deal with him or don't, when that bridge needs to be crossed? Not sure. But maybe, just maybe, the reason why the decisions are taking such a long time to emerge is because it's a very difficult decision around which manager to go for. You know, we did a stream last night on my channel. Check it out. It was a really good one, I thought. 8:30. It's quite late for me usually. And we had Barry on. We had Adam William Cahill, Mr. Box Office, flip-flopping all over the place. We had Jacob and Ben Kaufman and Brian Daigle. I don't think there was anybody else. If I'm forgetting anybody else, I apologise. I think that was it. There were 6 of us. And yeah, it was a really interesting stream. And about an hour and a half before the end, we started pivoting to playing the kind of thumb game that we stole from Bob Spur, his Saturday night show. And we talked about every manager, and we got the comment section involved. And what was really, the highlight from that sort of game to me was that there was absolutely no clear winner, no clear favourite. Everybody had, at best a 60-40 positive. Most were 50-50 or like difficult to separate. Maybe Poch edged it. But even Poch, I read this morning that Real Madrid are thinking about getting rid of Ancelotti. He's under a little bit of pressure over there, despite how good he's been since he's gone back. The Real Madrid fans, I guess, just don't tolerate any kind of poor performances. And so maybe Pochettino, who was previously linked with Real Madrid twice, once when he was at Tottenham, once when he was at Real Madrid, PSG, come on. Maybe they'll go back and the third time is the charm. Of course, if Pochettino was to accept the Real Madrid job, then that's a whole load of pressure, a different form of pressure than what he would have taking over Tottenham for the second time. But maybe we've got competition for that particular name. Everybody else, from the Frankfurt manager to Thomas Frank to De Zerbi to Luis Enrique, there was no clear favourite. Everybody had reasons to say yes and reasons to say no. Even Thomas Tuchel, which yesterday I said I don't particularly want him, and I don't. But actually, having had the discussion yesterday, we looked at a tweet that kind of called out some of the positives, the pros for signing him, and I've walked away from it thinking, like, it's not such a terrible idea if one of the priorities of the new manager, at least from the fans' perspective, would be to win a trophy. I think he took Chelsea to 4 cup finals in his short spell with the club. He is more of a cup guy than anything else, and that might not be what Daniel Levy wants. Bugsy, hey! That might not be what Daniel Levy wants, but it seems like it's the resounding plea from most Tottenham fans. So, plus he can work with youth, plus he is adaptable, has been successful with several different formations, and is probably one of the best, in-game managers that there is in world football. But not a fan of his football generally, personally. And obviously he's got, a history of falling out with every owner he's worked for, just like Conte has. So pros and cons for everyone. I'm not going to go through every single manager like we did last night, but there's no clear, obvious candidate to me that's like head and shoulders above everybody else. And I think that might be, a similar theme in the conversations that are having at the boardroom level. If you don't want Conte, who do you want? I'm not entirely sure. It's not easy. It really isn't easy. And this next one, obviously it's going to sound silly saying it, but you have to get it right. If you're Daniel Levy, if you make a mistake on this one, and as sad as it sounds, I think until there is that kind of philosophical change and shift at Tottenham, then there probably will be continued disappointments. So it's a big decision, right? You have to get it right. You have to get it right, and I reckon that's what they're thinking, and they're going through the intricacies of every strong or poor argument for each manager. There isn't any other news to update you on, guys, so I'll leave you there, apart from to say, look, for me, a little bit of transfer news. Jordan Henderson at Nottingham Forest. I think he might be going back to Manchester United soon, because I'm not sure if his injury is, resolvable until, the summer. I don't think he'll be playing again for Forest. And I was reading this morning that Tottenham are, absolute favourites to sign him, and Manchester United have to have a conversation and figure out what they want to do. Do they want to sell him to a Premier League rival? Is there potentially some sort of player plus cash swap on the table there for, Harry Kane? Because for me personally, like, Jordan Henderson is a goalkeeper that I would happily get behind Tottenham signing. I think he's a wonderful talent, and he could be the next, 10-year fixed permanent signing for the goalkeeping spot. Obviously, there's going to be vulnerabilities and rawness with him because he's young and he will make mistakes, more frequently when they're younger than when they're older, generally. And, so it's not going to be a perfect signing. But for me, it makes a lot of sense. So that would be interesting. And that's one of the major holes that Tottenham have to fix this summer. If you could get him in, whether or not it's with Harry Kane's, participation in the deal, getting Jordan Henderson in would be one hole that's plugged. And then it doesn't really matter for the positions that we need filled who your manager's going to be, whether it's Poch, whether it's Tuchel, Luis Enrique, Thomas Frank, De Zerbi, whatever. It's absolutely categorically clear that we need, at least one, if not two, significant improvements in our centre-back spots, and at least one, if not two, creative players. One that can fit very much more centrally, and then potentially one, to replace like a Lucas Moura or Danjuma if and when the decision is made to move on someone like Brian Hill. And I guess Brian Hill's future will depend on who the manager would be as well. So lots to discuss going forward, guys, but not a lot more to discuss today. It's radio silent out there, and for me personally, I think that I don't mind it being silent. It's a frustration as a content creator that there's nothing new to bring to you. But if it's because they are having deep discussions and not trying to be knee-jerk in their reactionary stances on this sort of thing, then I'm okay with it. I'd rather they pause, take a breath, and figure everything out, rather than this kind of like hap-dash approach that we saw when it came to Nuno, bringing in Fonseca, then telling him no, thinking about Gattuso, then, all that kind of airing our dirty laundry in public was an embarrassment that we ended up landing with Nuno just to fire him a couple of months later. I don't think they want to go through that again, and so I would expect a little bit more time out and time taken to do this stuff behind closed doors. And you'll get the occasional leak, but I wouldn't trust anything you're reading or hearing until the news cycle starts to heat up and everyone's behind a consistent storyline. And right now there isn't one. Let me know your thoughts, guys. Like, share and subscribe. And as always, bye-bye.